Microsoft is going all out this generation. Obviously, Xbox struggled in the Xbox One era. 360 did fairly well and ended up sort of neck on neck with PS3, though PS3 did eventually beat it out by a little bit. But Xbox One was rough, namely due to a lack of games. And so what Microsoft has been doing over the past few years is acquiring reputable studios to build up their library of first-party titles that they can release to draw people to not only their Xbox consoles, but also their major push towards Xbox Game Pass, which is essentially the Netflix of games. And if they can accrue many more subscribers, the service may be able to pay for itself and kind of pave the way to a new business model. And Microsoft on that front is ahead of the curve. And to get even more ahead, they really have to invest in high-quality, first-party exclusive games. And if you go to the official Xbox page, you can see all of the studios that they've acquired over the years. But the really big one, as many of you may know, was the acquisition of ZeniMax and in turn the acquisition of Bethesda, ZeniMax being the parent company of Bethesda. Microsoft acquired ZeniMax, recall, for $7.5 billion in cash, an insane amount of money, and in turn, they acquired franchises like Elder Scrolls, Fallout, Dishonored, Doom, you name it. I mean, these are just a couple. It's pretty insane. Now, when you think $7.5 billion, yeah, the human mind, most people can't comprehend how much money that is. And if it were Sony, that amount of money would just be a huge expense, a huge risk. But with Microsoft, we're talking about the company that made Windows. And so they make so much money every quarter, every year, that for them, $7.5 billion, it's substantial, but not something that will completely break the bank. And there's no better indicator of this than the amount of money Microsoft made recently and how it's enough money to pay for the Bethesda acquisition twice over. So this was reported by news outlet GameSpot that highlighted some of the fiscal year reports that Microsoft put out there about their financial results. And so with the launch of Xbox Series X and S in November, the overall hardware sales figures jumped by 86%. And apparently this figure could have been higher if it weren't for the shortages. The fact of the matter is that Microsoft isn't able to manufacture as many Xbox Series as they could Xbox One within the same time period. And so they've actually probably sold less units than they could have, but the demand is there and they're going to continue manufacturing them. Daniel Ahmad specifically said one thing that can be inferred from the figures, which isn't really surprising, is that Xbox didn't ship as many Series XX consoles as they did Xbox Ones in the same time frame. This has been reflected in global sell-through data too, mainly due to production, it seems. And with the pandemic raging on, that doesn't help companies' abilities to be able to manufacture the chips and components at a volume that they would like. But overall, Xbox has seen financial success this quarter because of the launch of their next-gen consoles, which are now current-gen. It says right here, Xbox revenue rose by 51% for the period compared to the same quarter last year. And beyond Xbox console sales, there's also Game Pass and how many new subscribers they have gained after the launch of Series, given how much the console promotes Xbox Game Pass, given what a key component of Microsoft's future Game Pass is, what a big gamble they're placing on this subscription service, which has proven to be very consumer-friendly. Now, where things get really crazy is when you look at the overall revenue and profits that Microsoft managed to accrue over the last quarter. So it reads right here that across all of Microsoft's business units, Microsoft pulled in $43.1 billion in revenue. As far as how much of that is profit, $15.5 billion, which, if you do the calculation, indeed is enough to pay the $7.5 billion acquisition of ZeniMax 2 times over. This is profit we're talking about, not the revenue being able to pay for ZeniMax twice over. The profits, the money that they actually made after expenses, that money could buy Bethesda twice over. The amount of money that Microsoft makes means that even if Xbox kind of struggles for a bit, Microsoft as a company can support them financially because they just make so much of it. With Xbox, they can really take their time, take some losses on Game Pass as they build up that platform. And beyond that, they can make seriously substantial long-term investments like the acquisition of ZeniMax and still be okay and still make that money back fairly quickly. And the rumor out there is that Microsoft is not done acquiring new studios. Apparently they're set to announce something in 2021. Now this is purely speculative, but basically somebody pointed out on this forum, one of the users talking about how I think you'll find in the coming months that a number of acquisitions are inbound that have been in the works for a while now, at least if the rumors I'm hearing are true. And then this was followed up by a response from King Ragnar, who is a known Xbox insider, who said, I don't know who this guy is, but I've been hearing the same thing for months, that Microsoft wants to acquire another publisher. Negotiations with Bethesda lasted 3 years. As I've been pointing out, I believe the announcement will be at the end of 2021 or the beginning of 2022. So we don't know if this is going to pan out the way they're saying it will, but it wouldn't surprise me if it did. I'll say again, Microsoft and Xbox are being very aggressive this generation. They're really stepping up their game. They saw the software and gaming drought that they experienced in the Xbox One era and how that led to their sales floundering compared to PlayStation 4. 100+ million versus, what was it, like 40 million, nearing 50 or something? Yep, just looked it up. 50 to 51 million units sold total, which isn't a complete failure, but they could have fared much better. And so with this new generation, they're really making sure they can back up the hardware with the appropriate software. And time will tell, whether they can release that consistently, but these acquisitions are a big part of that. And, we're seeing some quality games in the works at Microsoft. There's obviously a new Halo in the works. Psychonauts 2 is coming out soon. New Hellblade. Fable is in the works. Gears of War. Perfect Dark. State of Decay 3. Age of Empires 4. Bethesda working on a bunch of things alongside id Software, Arcane, Tango, Machine Games, ZeniMax. Just look at this list. It's substantial, certainly. And Obsidian is working on Avowed, which is this kind of like Elder Scrolls-like RPG. In Exile recently launched Wasteland 3, and now they're working on an unannounced RPG. So there's clearly a lot cooking in the background, and if these games can live up to the quality bar that people expect from some of these franchises and IPs, then Microsoft could very quickly be in a much better place than they were in the last generation. Microsoft definitely does have some catching up to do. Sony had some compelling launch titles ready from day one, Demon's Souls Remake, Miles Morales, and they have a consistent string of releases coming up with Ratchet & Clank, The New Horizon, and God of War, which is slated for 2021. Microsoft still seems to be in a period where they've just acquired the studios and there's sort of this incubation period. Feels like a lot of their studios still have a decent amount of time to go before they're able to finish their titles. But I think in the long term, if Microsoft makes the right moves and ensures that those first-party releases are compelling and of high quality, they'll be able to stay pretty competitive in this generation of consoles. And as far as resources go, they've got no issues there. But at the end of the day, quantity won't define whether a console is compelling. It's all about that quality. I'd rather see a few quality releases every year than a bunch of middling ones. I think they'll be able to ultimately deliver given time, where Sony is kind of off to the races because they've built up to PlayStation 5 so well with kind of trickling in studio acquisitions who have kind of slowly but surely come into their own within Sony's umbrella and have gotten just better and better, and they've just got so many fantastic studios now doing excellent work. But only time will tell how all of this will pan out. Only time will tell what Microsoft's next major acquisition will be, if that is indeed happening based on the reported rumors. But until then, let me know in the comments below what your thoughts and opinions are on Microsoft and Xbox's position within the games industry, and what you think the prospects are for the Xbox Series consoles becoming successful and being able to keep up with PlayStation's established reputation. Drop a comment, and to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.